Good morning. We're starting on Chapter 3 today. Chapter 3 deals with the idea of photosynthesis. We're talking about plants, of course. We're going to look at chloroplasts, very important part of a plant and what they do. We'll talk about why plants have leaves. Why do they need them? And then we'll look briefly at photosynthesis in other organisms besides plants. And then we'll summarize everything. So let's leap right into it. How do plants get food? Plants have to have food come to them. They're rooted into the ground. They really can't move around. And a few plants eat insects. Most plants can't do this, but there are a few, the Venus flytrap and others, that can eat insects. But the insects have to come to them. Plants have to get the material to come to them. Some material comes in from the roots. The roots are down in the ground and they get minerals, they get water, and so they can get some things in that way. Other materials come in through the leaves, mainly carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a very important part of plant food. Plants make food using carbon dioxide by a process called photosynthesis. Photo meaning light and synthesis meaning to make. So they make by using light, they make their food. Now what do they need to grow? Obviously they need lots of sunlight. They need the energy for photosynthesis. They need water. If you've ever tried to raise a plant or get your lawn to grow, you know that if they don't have water, they don't grow. They need appropriate temperature. If it's too hot, things will dry out and the plant will be damaged. And if it's too cold, the chemical reactions are slowed down. This is why in the winter you don't have to mow your lawn very often. In our part of the country we can't because it usually has a foot of snow on top of it, so it'd be rather pointless. It needs a lot of minerals, different minerals that help the plant grow. Nitrogen certainly, and this is why you put fertilizers on plants because they contain nitrogen and phosphorus mainly. Nitrogen helps make protein. Phosphorus helps plant cell division so the plant can grow. Other materials, potassium, magnesium, calcium, sulfur, all of these and other minerals are necessary for plants to grow and to be healthy. Now, the chloroplast is the most important part of the plant, I suppose, because the chloroplast contains chlorophyll. On the left-hand side of the picture, you see an actual photograph of a plant. The green spots in there, particularly the dark green ones, are chloroplasts. And I've given you on the right-hand side a diagram of a plant cell with the different parts of the chloroplast cell, the outer membrane, the inner membrane, and the different parts of the chloroplast. Chlorophyll is a compound. The name comes from the Greek chloros, which means yellow-green, and the chlorophyll is what gives the plant its green color. It's a long, complicated molecule. I would be interested in it because I'm a biochemist, but I won't inflict that upon you. But it is a big molecule. And what this molecule does is absorb light energy from the sun. The light from the sun hits the chlorophyll molecules and the chlorophyll absorbs that energy and then uses that energy, the plant uses that energy to make food for itself. Converts it into chemical reactions for photosynthesis so that the plant can have what it needs to live and to grow. Now, photosynthesis, very important process. Photosynthesis involves using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight. The sunlight provides the energy for the chemical reactions. The carbon dioxide and water provide the starting materials, and we get two very important things out of this. Carbohydrates are formed. These are sugars, starch and other sugars, that the plant needs to grow and to live. And the other important thing is that the plant produces oxygen that we need. We breathe oxygen, the plant breathes carbon dioxide, so it all works out. We breathe oxygen in, breathe carbon dioxide out. The plant breathes carbon dioxide in and breathes oxygen out. Very nice balance of nature. So where does the carbon dioxide come from? Well, as I mentioned, we breathe out carbon dioxide every time we exhale. Fires provide carbon dioxide, whether it's a campfire, the nice little fire up at the top, or your fireplace if you have a fireplace, or it's a little early in the season for it, but when you barbecue, you grill hamburgers or steaks or whatever on the barbecue, you get carbon dioxide released from that. Vehicles produce carbon dioxide, and a lot of it. Trucks, cars, airplanes, all of these, when they burn the fuel, the gasoline, the jet fuel, the diesel fuel, carbon dioxide is produced as a product of that fuel. Carbon dioxide comes from a lot of manufacturing plants, particularly if they burn coal or oil as part of their energy. They'll release carbon dioxide in air. Now, why do plants have leaves? Why can't they just have little chemical stems or something that allow them to make their starch and oxygen? Leaves collect sunlight. The bigger the leaf, the more surface there is, the more sunlight that the leaf can collect. So the leaves are necessary for the plant to get the sunlight for energy so that it can continue to make what it's making. Plant leaves follow the sun. That's a very interesting thing. If you put a plant by a window, it will grow toward the sun. And the little picture here shows using a light that mimics sunlight, and you can see the plants growing towards the light. If you turn it around, it will change direction of growth. It will say, oh, you've moved me, I need to move back to where the sun is. And this is called phototropism. Photo, again, meaning light. The growth of a plant in the direction of its light source. So this is an important process for plants so they can get the most exposure to the sun. Here's an example of phototropism. The plant on the left had light coming at it on one direction only, and you can see that it's tilted towards the left so that it's looking for the light. The plant in the middle didn't have any light at all, so it is very light colored, its chlorophyll isn't activated, and not a whole lot is happening. And the plant on the right has light coming in all directions, so the stems and the leaves are growing in all directions. Now, what happens, auxin is a compound, it's a hormone, it's a plant hormone that is released that stimulates growth, and it is released on the dark side of a plant, so it makes that side grow longer, and so the shoot grows towards the plant. Now, other organisms can carry out photosynthesis also. And we'll see this in later chapters when we study the protists. Algae can perform photosynthesis. They also have chlorophyll in them. Seaweed is classified as an algae. Now, why isn't seaweed a plant? You call it a weed, and weeds are plants, but seaweed is not a plant because seaweed does not have roots, stems, and leaves, and this is an important part of what a plant is, and we'll see what the role of the roots and the stems are in later chapters, but we've already seen why the leaves are important. Now, here's a microscopic picture of some algae, and you'll notice the black pointer is showing where some green material is inside the algae, and this is chlorophyll. So the algae can pick up sunlight and make food from it too, which is good because a lot of algae really don't move around very much, so they've got to get their food somehow. Okay, what have we talked about in Chapter 3? We've discussed the fact that plants use sun's energy to make food. We call that photosynthesis. They take carbon dioxide and water and they make carbohydrates and oxygen out of it. And as I mentioned, this is called photosynthesis. Chloroplasts are cells inside the plant that are responsible for photosynthesis. The chloroplasts are the cells that make photosynthesis happen. They contain the chlorophyll, which is why they're green, and the production of carbohydrates and oxygen takes place in these cells. All green parts of a plant have chloroplasts, but the leaves do most of the photosynthesis. This is why they're big, this is why they're flat, so they can collect as much sunlight as possible and make as much food for the plant as they can. Some other organisms do photosynthesis. We've talked about seaweed, we've talked about other kinds of algae. So photosynthesis is not restricted just to plants, but some other critters can also carry out photosynthesis. And that's it for the day. Thank you for coming and listening, and we'll see you later.